Hey everyone, good afternoon. Today is April 1st. I am Shanteria for those who don't know. I also go by Shanteria K. Um, I'm doing this video because I said I wanted to be more active on YouTube. I'm trying. Videos are so not my thing. But yeah, I told myself that on April 1st I was going to update you guys just on me, life, and what I consider the first quarter of 2020. So, January, February, March. Today's April 1st. So, just a recap of the past 3 months of my life. And I'm just going to be open and honest with you guys. And I hope that someone can grab something out of this. And it was literally like something that I told myself I was going to do on this day. I originally got up, being that we're on this quarantine, thanks to COVID-19. It's going to be gone soon in the name of Jesus. And I was like, I'm going to get up and get myself together. But it's like, I am together. But I mean, I was like, nah, you guys get me how I am. No eyebrows, nothing. But I wanted to share this with you guys and hope that it encourages someone. But I really did feel led to share this. Um, if I'm being honest, like most people, and let me say this first, I still feel this way because we're only one quarter in. Um, coming into 2020, I wasn't the whole perfect vision thing. That wasn't me. However, I do know that God had, started some things, and some things were going to take place in 2020. So I did come in with a mindset that certain things were going to happen because I have faith in His word, and His word cannot return void. Um, and I still do have faith that they are going to happen. However, it was just, I'll be lying if I say, to come in to this year with what I personally have come into and what others, us as a nation as a whole, have come into, if it hasn't, threw all of our schedules off. Um, but God is still God. God is amazing. Will have the final say. And for those of us that are in Him, we're good. So that's just to say the least. But coming into 2020, I was hyped. I'm like, okay, so this is, I kind of had things planned out. To be honest, a lot of us get answers from God, and we don't fully seek Him on how or when things are going to play out. That's not necessarily my story. I didn't. I was like, okay, God, in Your timing, You would do these things that You said will be done. Wasn't in a rush or anything. However, I didn't expect to come into 2020 with what we are currently in. But for those of you that know me, I am a mother of one, of an amazing son. I also do hair, which used to be like my full time job. However, I currently now work as well. So for the most part, I have a busy schedule. It's usually work, and then because of my hours at work, I am part time. I still would do hair to make ends meet, just for my household and to keep myself afloat. So my normal everyday schedule would be to go to work. When I leave work, come home, do hair. By the time I'm done with that, it's usually, time to get some rest. And that's kind of like how my schedule has been for a while now, for about the past year. Before it was just hair full time, but now I kind of do both. And there were times and there were moments where it would start to take effect on my body, and I would literally God would literally force me to take rest, because I didn't take rest. But basically, coming into 2020, I was kind of already dealing with some things, even just as far as just my son, having issues with him in school, and just a lot of stuff that I had to deal with. and it was really, really starting to take effect on me. We tell God, that we turn things over to Him, and that we fully surrendered everything. But God has a way of showing us that we have not, that we have not given Him full control over all, over our life entirely. There are certain areas that we still want to hold on to, or that we still want to have control over. I, for one, I'm someone, and I know this is a season where God is breaking that of me. I'm someone that likes to have control over things, not to have control over a person per se, but I just not, and it's just like I need to know what's going on. And of course, with this walk with God, we can't really operate like that. So basically, I just was going through a lot, as far as with my son, and getting daily phone calls, and I slowly began to become tired and weary of it, and it was like, okay, I don't have time to work both jobs, and by the time I help with homework, and this, I myself would take some responsibility, because I did start to slip, because of the things that I had going on as far as work, and just being tired and overwhelmed. So things just begin to get worse and worse and worse, and I kind of realized that I was like, I don't care. I slowly started to tell myself, I don't care. On top of that, I was going through a lot at work. Like, my job was, y'all didn't tell me my hair was sticking up, but oh well. Quarantine life. But I was just going through a lot at my job, where I was frustrated and I was aggravated, and it was just a lot. And some people, it's easy for people to say, hey, go through it, and but it's like, yeah, when you're in that environment, sometimes it's like you really, really have to push past yourself to not give the response that your flesh wants to. But it was just literally one thing after another, at work, at home, and I began to just become overwhelmed and frustrated. And little by little, I wasn't really dealing with it. I wasn't being open with it, should I say, but I was dealing with, like, I was keeping it in. I wasn't telling anyone, and I kind of developed this mindset of where I had got to a point to where I felt like I checked out. It really wasn't much time for me to get into my word, honestly. It wasn't much time for God outside of church and Bible study. And even when I was there, half the time I was like half asleep. So it really hit me like, hey, like, what's really going on? So on top of that, I started to have like major issues with my car. My job is like, on average, about 40 minutes away from where I live. So to drive back and forth every day was starting to take its toll. And it was literally like one thing after another, one thing after another that was going on with the car. And I kind of got to a place where I was like, I'm over it. I'm done. I don't know what else to do. And sometimes I know I'm not the only one. We feel like, okay, God, like, I'm doing what I should be doing. Okay, I'm sorry, briefings about the virus. You know, I never questioned God as to why things were going on, because in His Word, it says that we would have, issues and troubles and things like that. So I'm smart enough to know that, but I kind of got to a place where I was like, Lord, I am tired. Like, I'm trying, to keep this strong face and strong faith as well, but I'm tired. Like, there were nights where I would literally just go in my room and just cry, because I was overwhelmed and I didn't know what to do. I'm getting emotional. I am a crybaby, by the way. But it's just like I just didn't know what else to do. And I felt myself slowly withdrawing from people. Naturally, I like to be by myself. That's just me. That's how I've been. However, I can be with a group of people and have a good time, and that be fine as well. But I naturally, like, I'm okay with just being by myself. But I saw myself withdrawing from people. I would go to church, and right after, just out. Or try to leave before I can even have a conversation with someone, because I wasn't in the mood. I didn't want to be bothered. This was like in January. Come around to, no, this was January. And then all of a sudden, it got to a place where I was not unable to drive my car to work. So what I started to do was I would drive my car to a train station that was by me, and then I would catch the train to work. I mean, catch the train to where I work, and then I would catch an Uber to work. All right. And then to leave from work, I would catch an Uber from work to the train station there, and then I would catch the train here where my car was working, where my car was waiting. Um, that lasts for not long, maybe about a week or so, before the car was just like completely done. So, um, in the midst of this, situations happen where before, prior to the car just completely giving out, um, it was little stuff, you know, like, hey, the AC went out. I'm like, okay, not first, but after, you know, like all type of mechanical issues, then the AC went out. I'm like, okay. Then none of the windows started to go down, and during this time, I was tested so much. One day, I gave out a gas on 95, and I had no knowledge that had actually given out a gas. I thought um, the car just was gone because it was having issues. And I tell you guys, no lie, I have never been in a situation where it has taken AAA 3 hours to come. Um, I called them over and over and over again, and they were like, hey, we're going to send somebody. Remind you, I am a female on side of the road in a different county. Um, and I was afraid to get out because of just the world that we live in. So I have no AC and no windows going down. And I'm sitting in the car. And God tells me to worship. And I'm like, do what? And he's like, yeah, turn on your music and you're just gonna praise. You know, you're gonna have a whole praise and worship and you know, situation in your car. And I'm like, these windows don't even go down, Lord. Like, seriously. And you guys, for like the first hour, the first few minutes, I was over it. Like, I cried because I was just done. And then Holy Spirit began to minister to me, like, you know, turn on your music, you know. And I did that. I did it. I did it for like an hour, and I began to just tell the enemy that I wasn't going to let this situation, you know, get the best of me. My door is cracked, but slightly, because I'm still pulled over on 95. And I was almost like scared to receive help from somebody because you just don't trust anyone. So I was able to call one of my homeboys who live up in that county. And, you know, he was like, okay, I'm coming. But I'm like, wait, let's see what happens with AAA first. And literally, like an hour and a half went by. Oh, we're coming. So a roadside assistance guy pulls over. And I actually thought he was AAA, but he wasn't. He was a random guy driving on 95 for the roadside assistance. And he said, hey, I rode by an hour ago and I saw you here and you're still here. No one came to help you. And I was like, oh, I thought you were the people that I called. And he wasn't. So he was able to give me some gas. By this time, my battery has died. So he not only had to give me gas, but he also had to start the car. I was able to go to, you know, a gas station and get some gas and make it home. But that process took a little bit over 3 hours. And God was just showing me that in that situation, I was overwhelmed and I was tired and I was crying, but he still was teaching me to push through. Just push through situations and to continue to go and learn that no matter what, he's still able to be praised in every situation. So by this time, I'm drenched in sweat. Like, I'm hot, sweat, and I'm driving home, and I got home and I just showered, and that was that. So fast forward to about what, maybe like 3 days later, I'm driving home, and I get pulled over. And I get pulled over, and the man tell me my license are suspended. And I'm like, are you serious? And he goes, yeah, I'm supposed to take your tag. And I'm like, sir, this can't be. He was like, no, but I'm going to let you go home. I go home. I find out why my license is suspended. I go ahead and I pay $150 to get my license reinstated. I do that. About a week or so later, I'm driving home from work. And I reinstated my license on January 15th, 14th. February 5th, I got pulled over again, coming from work. And the guy goes, two police officers, state troopers. He goes, oh, your license are suspended. And I said, why are my license suspended? And I wasn't rude to him or anything. It's just that I knew that I had just reinstated my license. And I said, hey, are you sure? And I said, sir, I'm not, questioning your authority. I said, but are you sure? He goes, yeah. I said, when were they suspended? He said, oh, they were suspended this morning. So I have no knowledge of this, but he tells me, oh, and because they're suspended, you can get out the car. I'm going to tow your car. Immediately, guys, like not in his face, but I began to laugh because I knew the enemy was trying to really like attack me just with this whole situation because I was still overwhelmed and going through a lot. And I said, okay, sir. Um, and I said, okay. And the other state trooper gets out of his car because the other one goes back to the car. He comes back and say, hey, do you have proof of insurance? I give him my proof of insurance, and he asked me, is it up to date? He said, hey, is it paid? I said, yes, sir, it is. He took the insurance information, and then they brought it back to me. And then he said, oh, yeah, we're going to tow the car. So I said, okay. I get my stuff out the car, and I literally stand on side 95. And they sat there and they waited. They left my doors open and everything, and I saw that it was the enemy really trying to get me out of character. And I politely went. I shut the doors to the car because they opened the doors and they left them open. I went and shut it, and the tow truck guy pulls up, and I'm like, sir, I never went through this process. So what happens with me? I wasn't sure if the police would give me a ride. I'm in a different county, or if and he says, oh, they told me just to drop you off on the side of the road, as if I was trash or something. I said, okay, no problem. He was nice enough to drop me off at a convenience store, and one of my friends was able to come pick me up. During that time, I got to the convenience store, and the tow truck guy was very nice, but I just began to, let God know, like, hey, I'm not gonna let this situation get the best of me. I waited patiently for my friend. Came, got in the car, and went home. But following that, I had to pay almost $300 to get the car to tow, for a car that I was planning to junk anyway. And they were, hey, yeah, because the amount that it was going to pay to get my property out of the car was like a $30 difference than me taking the whole car. So I went ahead and I did that. Once I got the car, I got it home, I got my stuff out, and I just prepared to junk the car. They end up, and that's what I did. I ended up junking the car. So from the first week of February, I was stuck without no vehicle. I literally had to catch the train to and from work. Now, that was a process because I had to go to the travel station from home. And on top of that, go to work. Catch the train station. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting updates on my phone about the virus and stuff. So if I look a little sidetracked, that's what it is. But yeah. So it's basically it was just a lot. And then, like I said, so now it's like, okay, no car at all. So even when it comes to, hey, when I'm home, me and my son need to go grocery shopping or this, that, and the other. You know, you can't do it. Or of course there was Uber, so I kind of got back to just calling Uber and doing things like that. But after a while, it starts to, it's a lot. After a while, it becomes like a full bill. And for me, I was going through that, and then so much at my job, where I got to a point where I felt like that I was done there. I felt like, hey, my time is up here and I'm done. Now, I do want to take you back to, just to give you a little insight. On my job, I was there 3 years temporary as a seasonal employee, and then this last year, they brought me back permanent. I've been there over a year now as a permanent employee. But prior to them bringing me back as a permanent employee, my spiritual father reached out to me and asked me had they ever offered me a permanent job. And I said, yeah, but what they offered me, I didn't want the pay, da 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 da, this, that, and the other. And he said, Shanteria, if they offer you a permanent position this year, take it. And I said, okay, and left it as that. About a week or so later, I got another call from my other spiritual father asking me the same thing. I'm like, I asked him had they been communicating with each other. And he was like, nah, why? He's like, okay, because they're going to offer you a position and you need to take it. And I said, okay. And about 10 minutes later, my current boss walked into my office and she said, hey, we need you to take the AP test. And I'm like, why? She's like, oh, because we're going to consider keeping you on permanent this year. And I knew it was God. However, I didn't know the test that I was being set up for. So I basically, I passed the test, and here we are a year later. In the, in the midst of this, the job is a lot different than what I was doing as a seasonal employee. There's a whole lot more responsibilities that I have to do. There's a whole lot more that I have to learn. And I began to become overwhelmed to the point to where I told myself, I'm up, I'm done. It was just one thing after another, one thing after another. And not seeking God to say, hey, is my time up here? I literally said I was done. And I they had like one last straw, and they was like, hey, we need, I was like, you know what, I'm done. I sent in my 2-week notice. I'm like, I'm done. And that was that. The same day I sent in my 2 weeks notice, I go to Bible study that night, and basically we were in, I think, First Timothy, and there's somewhere about a verse, I don't remember it exactly, but it says, about working unto the Lord. I don't remember the exact scripture, but for some reason we stayed on that verse in Bible study. Like, everyone just was passing the mic and everyone had something to say, and I'm like, Lord, like, I got tore up in Bible study. I'm like, Lord, did I really make a decision from my flesh? About, like, just not, when you're working for the Lord, and you may have this boss, but you're there for, I'm like, you may have these co-workers and this, that, and the other, but you're there to be an example to them. And I was like, Lord, I am sorry. Excuse me. And I didn't know how to make it right, but I knew God was talking to me that night, in church. And honestly, let me tell you something else. It was to the point to where they did an altar call at the end of service, and I still didn't move, because in my mind I still was trying to tell myself that I made the godly decision, that God had something to do with the decision of me just making the decision to quit a job that he had placed me on. So I didn't move, although I think I know I should have moved and had that moment with God, until I just still kept telling myself, like, no, this, your time is up. And I was mentally prepared to just go forth with just doing hair. And one day I had to swallow my pride, and I had to call my boss's boss, and I had to speak with her, and I let her know how I felt and some issues that I was addressing. I mean, some issues that I needed to address, some issues, and we spoke, and we were able to come to a conclusion, and just say, hey, this is how we're going to work this out. We're going to get you the help and the training that you need, this, that, and the other. And so I was able to stay at my job. However, I didn't fully realize we have to really follow God, because when we make decisions in our flesh, and I'm even thankful now just thinking about it, because I get to see the grace of God in the midst of this. Because had I left that job today, April 1st, 2020, dealing with COVID-19, I have made the decision to completely stop doing hair. So I would have had no income whatsoever. Man, I'm literally sitting here like it's really hitting me now. On the grace of God and how good he is, to where I'm still, now has my income taken a tremendous drop, yes, but I'm still going to praise God that I have some income, because some people have none right now. So had I went through with this 2 week notice and said I'm done with this job, not only to know a month later that you're going to be forced to stop doing hair because of the previous years, we have to remember what worked for us in the past may not work for us in the future because of the plan that God has for us. Prior to this job, hair full time has been making it for me, and making it, I'm talking about doing well with it. So in my head, I've been doing this for years full time, and I've been making it and doing well. So I can continue to do so. However, I never saw COVID-19. I never saw this virus coming in. So had I quit my job, I would have been in a situation where I probably wouldn't know what to do. As far as finances, I mean, I'm still relying on God completely, but I'm just looking at the grace of God now that is actually hitting me while I'm talking to you guys about me being able to still have some income. So just in the midst of that, just remember to fully, man, just seek God about everything. And I had to repent, and I had to tell God I'm sorry for making a decision out of my flesh. And not really fully consulting with him. I was mad, and I was over it. So it was just like, I'm done. But I thank God, man, for that. So I made decisions to go back to work. To stay with the company, and I was still doing hair. And like I said, I still was just being tired and overwhelmed. And in the midst of that, now I'm with no car. So it's like I have really no ride to, I can do the local things, as far as, Ubering to get food or things like that. But my ministry that I attend is in a different county as well. At a different, is in Miami. I live in Broward. And the only way I was able to go to church is if one of my friends would go. And I'm thankful for even, I'm thankful God, I'm thankful, even for that, because I wasn't having a way to church. And my friend was able to push through of going through 2 services that morning, and still able to push through to come and take me to church. Or attend church with me every Sunday evening, so I'm thankful for that. But there are times where like they were unable to attend because they also had ministry work themselves. And I was stuck without a ride, and I was starting to get frustrated with it. And please, I have some sisters that lived that way, that knew about the situation. It was like, hey, I'm coming to get you, and I'm like, I'm talking about far live past the ministry, and was still willing to come get me. And I was thankful for it, you know what I'm saying? But I had to start, I'm like, you know what, it's okay. I would pick up my word, and I would watch online, for the Sundays or the Tuesdays that I wasn't able to make it. But I was starting to still being, just miss being in the presence, but I had to do what I had to do at that time. So I went on, and that went on for a while. And I was starting to become, and then in the midst of that, this whole COVID-19 thing breaks out while I'm catching the train back and forth. And I'm listening to people on there saying they're from other countries and things like this. And I'm like, Lord, help me. Like, I don't want to deal with this, and things like that. So I just begin to really just try to seek God in the situation and understand, what it was that God wanted me to do, because I understand that there's a purpose, that everything God does, there's a purpose behind it. And God began to start to talk to me and tell me to pray for the people on the train. And every day I got on the train, and I would just pray for people before I put my headphones in, but I would just pray. There were multiple stops in between Riviera and where I live in Broward. So I would pray for everybody that would come on, and everybody that would get off, that they would, if they didn't know Christ, that they would have an encounter with him. And I made it a daily routine. I saw these kids that would, they were catching the train to school, teenagers, and they were like, I don't like to use the term dark, but there were those people that were those, you can just see it on them. And one morning I saw one girl, and she just was saying that, how she was dealing with things with her father. She was telling the kids as they got on, that she was dealing with things in her father, and he's violating her privacy in her room, and she's sick of him, and things like that. And they were really just being there for each other. However, you can see just a darkness in their lives. And I just began to pray for them and intercede for them. So I did this every day. I began to take on a different mindset, of this. And basically, I began to just pray for these people. It's just simple. Lord, for those that don't know you, Lord, let them have an encounter with you. And I would have, just different conversations on the train. But I got to see the purpose in that. I knew it wasn't going to be a lifetime thing. Well, I didn't hope. Oh, but I knew God had a purpose, and so I was like, okay, God, I'll do this. If this is what it takes, I'll go ahead and I'll do this. And I started to change my mindset about things like that, and that's what it was. So it was, that, and then, like I said, I go to church, but I still was to a place where I was still overwhelmed because now I can't move how I want, and I don't have a car. So it's like, okay, the word is over, I'm leaving. And I had that mindset for a while because I didn't want to be bothered with anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. People would call my phone, I wouldn't answer. It's just, and no one did anything personally. I had just got to a place where I wanted to be by myself. I didn't really have the energy to talk or laugh with anyone. I just wasn't in the mood. And that's what took place for a while, pretty much all of this year. Until recently, I just began to say, you know what, God, like I can't do this anymore. The schools are still calling with my son. They're telling me to medicate him. They're gonna find behavior programs for him, and I'm just like, no. I literally had to stand up and tell the enemy, listen, you can mess with me, but I will fight for my child. And I began to just tell God that I fully release him to him. God had told me that my son was an idol for me. And I literally, if I'm being honest, it's almost like I told God he was lying because I kept telling God no, that wasn't the situation. God told me my son was an idol for me, and that I needed to remove him from where God should be. And I was telling God, no, that's not true, And literally, I saw our relationship start to crumble because I wasn't being obedient to God. God gave me a chance to do it on my own, but when I didn't do it because I didn't see it, God began to begin to touch that relationship, and I had to get to a place where I'm like, you know what, God, I released him over to you. So I did that. I began to pray for him, and I began to do daily devotions with him and things like that, and just kind of seek what was going on, identity issues as far as, like, okay, like, you are a child of God, this is what the situation is. Stop thinking you're not tall enough or you're not this. I had to start speaking life into him. And it took a while, and it's still taking a while, but it, like I said, God just began to deal with me. And I tell you guys, no lie, this whole first quarter has been a lot on me. However, I know people that have went through even more in a whole lot less time. So they were under more pressure. So I tried not to let my faith be moved. However, in the natural, I was tired and exhausted. And I think that's kind of like where God wanted me to, where I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I got to a place where I'm like, I don't know what else to do. And I think God was like, okay, now I can do what I do, what I'm in the business of doing. And I had to fully surrender and say, whatever happens, happens. And sometimes people look at that mindset as a mindset of giving up. But sometimes that's what God wants us to be. To realize that we can't do it and we can't control it. And that's what I did. And you guys, God is my witness. In a matter of a week, I saw God turned my whole house around. 1 week. Um, within this week, within that 1 week, which happened to be my birthday week. God is amazing. My son decided to give his life to Christ on his own through a devotion that we were reading and getting information, and he just decided, hey, this is what I want to do. And I led him. I did it with him with the prayer of salvation. Within that week, I was able to get a car. I still have not every, I lost some, but every train ticket that I have purchased, I still have it. Also within that week, God has been dealing with me, myself, in regards to something that, just some things that He's going to do and for me, or and that my flesh has to die to, and God has been dealing with me about different things, and even within that week, I saw something else break that needed to be done, within my family, in my household, for that to even take place. So everything, it's like within a matter of 7 days, I saw God turn my whole house around. And I'm thankful. I am thankful for it. Because looking back now, I feel like everything, it just pushed me to go harder, or pushed me to continue to just stay in the fire, whatever it is that God put us through. So I now have a car. My relationship with my son is getting better day by day. My relationship with others are getting better, and most importantly, my relationship with God is getting better, stronger. You know, I kind of got to a place where I was away from my word, other than me hearing things, simply because of me just being exhausted and tired and not being able to prioritize the right way. And thankful, I see God moving. So I'm thankful for that. And I just wanted to share that with you guys, overall. And just know that through the fire, there it will even be more tests. I can honestly say, I brought a ticket every day to get on the train to and from work. Sometimes, yeah, to and from work, you had to buy a ticket each way. And they never checked for tickets. I believe it was one time they checked for a ticket. Once out of the months that I was catching the train. So even when funds start to look crazy, I'm like, why am I even buying a ticket? Like, don't even check for tickets. You know what I'm saying? But God was trying to check my heart to see to see what it is that I would do, to see if I would get on this train without buying a ticket, just because I could. But I still bought a ticket every day. I still bought it. There was one day I wasn't able to buy a ticket, simply because the train was getting ready to leave, and as I was running up out of the Uber, the train was getting ready to leave. And the minute that I got on, I was looking for somebody. Hey, let me let you know, I can still buy a ticket, but I didn't want to be left. Because there's an hour difference within the train. So only that one time. And I didn't even have to speak to somebody. They still didn't come, but I had already made up my mind. Hey, when they come to check for the tickets, I'll discuss that with them. But other than that, every day I purchased a ticket because it was the right thing to do. God would check your integrity, during times where you feel like you're going through some stuff, or when you're going through a trial. So don't fail those tests. Every day I still bought a ticket. It didn't matter how much money I had. I still bought a ticket. So again, I wanted to say because I said I was going to share this on the 1st of April of my first quarter. My first quarter it wasn't the best. However, there are still 3 more quarters in 2020. And I want to say this to encourage somebody. Don't let the first quarter determine your fourth quarter, or even the second quarter, the third quarter. We're going to, as a nation, and I'm just going to speak this, as a nation, we're going to bounce back. We're going to bounce back. We're going to bounce back. So I say that to say we're good. We're in God's hands. We're trusting God's timing. We're going to allow God to do what it is that He needs to do. and we have to keep that mindset, that God is going to do everything that he said he's going to do. So if you ask me what am I planning on doing, I'm still making plans for everything God told me he was going to do in 2020. Because that's only 3 months out of the 12. God does not need a whole lot of time. I have this friend that's their favorite saying. God doesn't need a whole lot of time to do what it is that he says he's going to do, because he's God. So, God is good. God is faithful. And if he has released a word to you, prepare for it in faith. Just in regards to whatever it is, business, faith, just whatever it is that God has said he was going to do to you, going to do for you or through you, for 2020. Don't let this, sorry, don't let this deter you. This COVID-19 is a name. And my word says that every name is going to bow. So it is going to bow to Jesus. Okay? When? We don't know. That's not for us to determine. That's God. However, use wisdom. Okay, we are going to use wisdom as a whole to get through this, but don't put any name above the name of God. Whatever's God has said will be done, it will be done. Still prepare for it. Use wisdom throughout this time to do what you need to do, but still prepare for what God has said he's going to do, because he gets the final say. So yes, Shantiria is still preparing for everything God said that he's going to do for her in 2020. Because I still got 9 months to go. We still got 3 quarters to go. All right. So still prepare. Still, most importantly, continue to pray. Excuse me. Pray for one another. Pray for those that have been affected. Pray for those that are on the front line. Pray for our doctors. Pray for our leaders. Pray for our governors. Pray for the kids that are home without proper guidance. Pray for the body. Pray for the world. I seek strength into each and every one of you guys, and I pray that this message, just my, my testimony of my first quarter, I'm praying that my second, third, and fourth quarter gets a little bit better. But I slowly see God starting to turn things around for me. So I just hope that this was encouraging to somebody to just continue to push through. You may not fully understand what's going on. All right. So if I can leave you with a few points just off the top of my head, don't make decisions out of your flesh. Definitely be led by God. 2, don't give up. It doesn't matter what it feels like. Listen to me, because I was tired of people telling me to keep going. I'm like, it's easier said than done, because you don't know what I'm feeling. You don't know that my pressure is up to here right now. But I'm telling you, as someone who went through it and still going through it, despite of how you feel, still push through. Try the best you can to still push through. 3, patience. Just try to have as much patience as possible. And on that, I will leave you guys with the verse that God gave to me, and it keeps me. And that is Philippians chapter 1, verse 6. If you know me, then you know that's my verse, okay? And that is, he who has began a good work in you is faithful to complete it unto the coming of Jesus Christ. Okay, so basically what God starts, he's going to finish. All right. And I don't know about y'all, I don't know God's full will for my life, but I just feel like it's not completed. All right. So he will finish what he started. Okay. So I just know that there's more for me, and I know there's more for you as well, because the body needs you. All right. The body needs to hear your story and what you're going through. So yeah, that's pretty much been my first quarter. I'm going to try to do better with these YouTube videos. I have like this whole backdrop and everything that I've set up to do these videos, but today I was like, listen, you guys get me as I am today, because if I'm honest, like I said, I don't like to do videos, and I didn't feel like doing anything with myself. So you get Shantiria as she is, like the Shantiria. All right. You get truth. All right. So with that being said, I love you all. If this message has blessed you, share it. Share it. Also comment below as well. And if I can leave you with anything, is to trust God. Trust God. All right. I love you all. God bless. If you want to follow me on social media, my personal page is at Shanteria K. My hair page is Shanteria the Stylist. And my styling page is Styles by Shanteria K. Or Styles by Shanteria K. I'm getting there. Um, I love you all. All right, have a good one. Be safe out here, okay? If you don't have to leave the house, don't leave the house. Let's try to help the world, okay? Let's all get through this a little bit quicker. I love you all. God bless. Have a good one.